Hey folks, Ariel over here, coming from beside Fineth, from our nest instead of my nest. Anyway, this is a little look at winter receding and things turning into spring. So the footage here starts toward the end of February when things were still snowy and frosty, though we had a fairly low snow year overall, and we go through till today. He loves fighting chunks when you shovel them. What you got, Burley? What is that?
A very bad piece of ice.
So he will pounce it down into the pack and then dig it up and bite it again.
Burley. Oh, that's a bad one.
Burley, you're such a goofball. I've had red-winged blackbirds singing to me every morning now for a couple weeks already. They came back a full month before we saw the first one last year. Not sure what that means, just an observation, but they usually have been singing beautiful songs to me in the morning, in between all the other finches and chickadees and juncos and sparrows and everything else that come and go from the feeders. Get him, baby girl. Get him. By March, water was starting to drip off of things and the melting was starting. First the bare areas, or the areas that had been plowed and shoveled and so on, went bare, which made the birds very excited because they have more pecking for yummy things opportunities. So the snow piles around them were still pretty deep. Continued to warm up much faster than normal, and the snow has been receding. You can almost see all of the garden bed surfaces. The creek is flowing, and that makes the ducks very, very happy. little guys are about 48 hours old. They were out doing this yesterday as well, but I was busy and didn't grab the camera. It's about 28 degrees this morning. They won't stay out from under Mama for very long, but they're absolutely outside, pecking, drinking, learning to eat, learning to scratch, doing all the chicken things. Aren't they cute? She hatched 11 out of 12. The very last one, last egg, was a dud. I don't know if it was still pretty cold when I collected them when she started sitting, so it might have had some cold damage, or maybe wasn't fertilized, though our roosters seem to be pretty on top of that. Anyway, 11 out of 12 we're very happy with. And Dawn there, the mother, was hatched by Foggy. Last year, a little bit before this, it was really below zero the entire time, she was being brooded and hatched. And Foggy herself was hatched by Blackie here. It was our first batch of chicks that were hatched. So, well, I don't know who the individual parents are of any chick here because there were eggs all collected the same day. So presumably they have at least 11 different mothers, and probably both of our roosters have fathered some of them, so 2 fathers. They are kind of 4th generation chicks here on our property. She just gets to hang out in the duck pen with them for the day. They're still sleeping in the crate they were hatched in. She takes them back in there in the evening. This is what all our broody moms seem to do. We'll do this for a couple days till they get, used to following her, staying with her, fast enough to run around pretty good. Aren't they a cute assortment of colors? Anyway, but puts it back in our maternity crate at night and put them back in the barn. But during the day, they're just here in the duck pen where nobody can bother them because the ducks are always outside all day. And so she's got the options of being back here in the shade, out here in the bright sun, in her crate, not, and so on. And that is what they will do for the day. And after 4 or 5 days, they seem to be following her really well, we'll just let them out with everybody else who's, right there, and out there, and so on. Meanwhile, right on the other side of the fence, Foggy's first batch of chicks for the year don't look at all like chicks. They look like small chickens. For size comparison, there's some of the adult birds in the frame, so they're still a lot smaller, but they don't look like chicks at all. They're not being mothered anymore. They're doing their own thing, and I'm guessing that Foggy will probably soon start wanting to sit a new clutch, because that's what she's done the whole first year of her life. As soon as she gets one batch raised, she wants to raise more. So there are 6 there. They're lined up where you can't see all of them, but they don't look like babies at all compared to the new little ones. As we approach the middle of April here, the snow is really gone from a lot of areas, and though there's still big piles in spots, there's a lot of bare ground developing.
No, look at the camera here and be a mama kitty. Oh yeah, oh yeah, so... But see, you want it in and then you want to get away from me? Why would that be? Why would that be? Oh. Ow.
And as the snow has receded, within the course of like a week, we went from being able to do nothing to do everything. So now we're working on spring projects. So tell me what you're doing.
Well, I am replacing a wheelbarrow tire and tube because the factory one was a piece of garbage. So
it was just leaking in multiple places.
Yeah.
With no puncture.
Correct.
And the rubber coming apart in more other places.
So I had to blow the tube up just a little bit. It's a brand new tube, but I blew it up a little bit because in the packaging it was all crinkled and stuck to itself, and so I opened it up to flex it a little bit. Now I'm letting the air back out of it in order to get
Put
it back
inside here.
Yeah.
I've got 2 of these to do. And then we'll make our least favorite wheelbarrow functional again. Is
Well,
the idea.
We are hopeful. We'll stuff the tube back in here and try not to pinch it.
This is what was happening to the rubber all around, everywhere on both tires on the original. You can probably see it both in there and in the sidewall. So that's why that got replaced. Those will become weights for something or bumper pads for something, but they weren't any longer useful as a tire. So now we got 2 tires that seem to be holding air on here. They did a beautiful job suturing closed the bust in the side of this thing.
And the new name is now Zip Tie.
Oh yes, this wheelbarrow is now called Zip Tie.
It actually came from a friend of mine who fixed a snow machine, and for years it was called Zip Tie. And that was always the spare snow machine. If somebody needed a snow machine, you would take out old Zip Tie.
And now Zip Tie here will hopefully function for a while again. Since we're still getting things set up and developed here, every spring seems to be a need for filling a few potholes, re-leveling some spots, fixing up some driveway edges that are a little muddy, and we have a project that'll be coming in a future video here that we're working on, all of which require some gravel. So we got a dump truck of gravel delivered so that we could work on those things. It's rapidly turning into spring. Most of the snow piles left are where things were plowed or shoveled, or like over here by our fire pit area where we don't have any of our chairs back. Shaded spots behind a lumber pile or a few in the trees. The ground's almost all bare, and even starting to turn green in a few places. You know it's spring when it's time to take the plow off. Actually, it was probably ready to take off a little bit ago, but there was a giant snow pile that still went this way, and that's where we wanted it to sit, so I had to wait a bit. But hopefully it's spring, because we are taking it off. If you've never taken a snowplow on and off a truck before, you'll rapidly learn you want it to be sitting pretty level, because you can drop it off without it being level. But when you want to put it back on, it's going to be a pretty big problem. So these scraps of board keep it from settling into the dirt or anything, since it's probably going to sit here till next winter. Burley, by the way, is so sad that Winter is leaving. He's hiding on his remaining snow piles.
I can't hear you if I'm saying here, close to here. Then on.
This plow has a pretty nice quick disconnect. I don't know how all the others work, but you just flip the pin on that side. And if the light will cooperate, you can see this one better when he does it. Flip the lock on the pin on this side. And when he moves it, that pin will pop free up there. And like I said, you can get this off without it being on level ground. You see how the pin... Yep, it's clear. But if it's not level when you go to pop that frame back on the truck, it's going to be a pin. Oh, there's one more spring chore done.
I got another one of those locks for sun off of the...
It protects it from weathering.
Yeah, but it's kind of huge to keep the sun off of the all the wiring and...
Right. So it doesn't dry out all the cables and...
Yeah.
Said the quackgrass grows under the snow, and I think I can hear it. So right there we have a snow edge, and you can see the grass is already up 1.5 inches or so underneath it, and then it will, you know, the snow melts off it and it gets, it is yellow, and then in about a day it turns green and starts feeding all those roots we don't want. Snow's off the last garden bed as of today. Still obviously right beside it. Check out what's going on in this bed. I don't know if the camera can see. There we go. We've got garlic up all over here. Garlic, garlic. First thing up in the garden. And a very snuggly kitty getting in the way at my feet. Oh, yes. So, garlic bed. And you can see we've still got snow in places, but it's almost gone. You can also probably see why I'm so glad that we have hardware cloth. See that tunnel? Right under the hardware cloth in bed. And as you look, say, into this path, you can see all the places the rodents tunneled through the winter. And I'm quite certain if we didn't have the setup we do, they would have been in the bed and eaten all the garlic. Yes, it's supposed to deter them, But we have had pocket gophers eat every bit of garlic, nonetheless, in the past. We've got little nubbins of rhubarb coming through. The ducks and cats and chickens are all scratching and pecking through the woods now that it's spring, turning up any interesting critters that hid all winter under the leaves and so on. Once again, Burley seeks out the remaining snow piles. He will do this until there's just a little spot the size of his tummy, and he will make sure he gets on top of that, because he's probably very sad when winter goes away, aren't you? No, it's not deep enough for him to swim. He just lays down in it because he's too hot. It's like 40 degrees. The hens are all laying very actively right now, so there's a lot of discussion about who gets which nest bucket. They all look the same to me, but apparently not to them. And we have more new life. Blackie, our very first mother, is sitting a new clutch, and we got some more cute little things here. This is our bed out by the mailbox, so it melts out most rapidly because of being having the lane plow beside it. And you can see we've got a lot of chives, daffodils, irises and stuff starting to poke up here. It's the very first place to melt out. Only in the very first spots that were shoveled or cleared, but we have a few dandelion plants starting. They're very small, but have not seen any flowers yet on anything. And the very first thing to send out any leaves here at our place is always the currant bushes. This is a wild one growing in the edge of the woods, but its little leaves have just opened today. It'll be a while before anything else does, but that's the start of spring here. Thanks for spending your valuable time with us.
I hope you learned something interesting and useful.
Or found something beautiful here.